Welcome back for another one. I just recorded one of my videos, and I want to record another one, just a little like expansion on it. I just want to send one straight message because I see this is going on, and it breeds conflict where it has no answer. Because I've been in this dynamic on both sides, and I can tell you uh, what's really going on. First of all, there's this idea that the narcissist and the empath relationship, and the narcissist is a bad guy, and the empath is a good guy. I've spoken about this before, but right now I just want to show it that this is not the case. That narcissist is somebody who's in a process of learning love. Empath is someone who's in the process of learning wisdom. However, there is no narcissist without certain type of empathy, and there is no empath without certain type of narcissism. Those things exist there in a specific way. The narcissist would not be able to function if it would have a certain degree of empathy to lure an empath in, right? So it has to display certain empathy. You may say that, well, it's a different type of empathy, whatever, but they do this love bombing, whatever. They display a certain degree of empathy, and you may even say that they may even be in that moment genuine for a flash of a second, and then you go back to that old way of being, and then it appears that they lure you in just to beat you up, right? The same thing with the empath. Empath, is drawn in this picture. That's like, such a good person came on this planet and now is being abused. No, it's naive soul. And if you come and play this game and you're naive, then that's the start of the game. It's not that you're good. Neither narcissist, neither empath are good in the respect that are in the process of evolving. If they are in this relationship and they don't understand that it's just a catalytic process, that they have to both go through this, and they think it's about, I'm the good guy, you're the good. You see what I'm trying to say? It's going to be this paradox, because then you'll see, like, no, that's exactly what the narcissist would say. It's like, you're not an empath, you're a narcissist. What the fuck? And you can see this clusterfuck that's like, what the fuck is going on? I've been on both sides, and I know that when I was in a narcissistic mode, I did have a certain degree of empathy, because I did had care for the people that later ended up abusing without my awareness that I was actually doing it. I thought that it's for the good of another person. I mean, I wasn't like physically abusive or anything like that, but there's certain type of order that I was imposing on people that they never really asked of me. Okay, so I realized that was, kind of first part of my life. I had these tendencies, and then later I swung to another side, and I, to learn the lesson, and then I realized, oh, wait a second, now I like boundaries, I like wisdom. At first I liked love, and then I liked wisdom, and I went through both of these catalytic processes, and I can tell you that it's not neither of them good or bad. They both are in the process of evolving, and honestly, if you're not using this as a catalyst, then both are your schmucks. Both parties are schmucks, because you can say, well, how is the empath's fault? The empath's fault is because it creates so many problems through the gullibility. You see what I'm trying to say? You can say, well, because they do not impose boundaries. And if you do not impose boundaries, what's going to happen if you don't impose boundaries? The lies will seep through the, all sorts of things is going to happen, and it's going to be your fault as you experiencing this reality, as you call yourself empath, I don't like these words, but if you do call yourself empath, I hope that you stop calling yourself empath, because that's the way out of being this person that is dysfunctional, and actually using this to evolve, using us as a catalyst. Um, and so the narcissistic part of the alchemist, first of all, it has an audacity to say that it can help the narcissist to get out of the darkness. It has audacity to say that without having any kind of wisdom itself. It is very narcissistic to believe that you are in any kind of position to help anybody, because you have no awareness of boundaries yet. And you will create a lot of problems, just like I did with this trusting people and without creating any boundaries and stuff like that. You see what I'm trying to say? Because I created, like, every time somebody stole from me was my fault for not imposing boundaries. Every time somebody lied to me and I trusted that was my fault for being gullible. I created a thief and I created a liar because of my empathetic, tendencies. This is why in this model of consciousness that I'm talking about, it's not empath. It's not, one is learning love, the other one is learning wisdom. There's just two beings. Like, one is just freaking being born as a soul, and another one has a soul, but that soul has not solidified. It can turn into ego very quickly. You see, and it all boils down to these roller triangles and these petals, right? There's certain roller triangles that are dirty, and certain petals are still distorted, and so this is like the whole path of consciousness. Okay, so it will happen once, right? But it doesn't have to happen again if you know what's going on. You will be betrayed once, because without that betrayal you won't be able to discover that pain inside of you that you have not yet alchemized. So you will be betrayed once. But if you're going to keep on not learning the lesson, you're not looking at that pain and still blaming, and it's like, oh, that's fucking narcissist, and you're creating belief systems, then what's going to happen? You still have not dealt with it. You're still going to be either swinging into the narcissistic tendencies, or still remaining in this empath tendencies or whatever, and getting your ass handed to you again and again and again until you actually face that thing and no longer create that. And if you do this, then you feel the difference in the resonance of people. And sometimes if people come into your life and you feel that, then okay, you can feel the fear in them, and that their ego or whatever, the heart of gold, you feel in them, and it's just like, obviously you're not going to trust them. Of course, it's not even their fault, because if you do, then you would be gullible again. You don't trust them because they are not, um, just they are not on that path, or whatever. Another thing what may happen is that if they relax around you, the fear may go away, and there might be the little moment that is like a soul shines through, and then in that moment you can trust them. While they're in that vibe, you can trust them because now they're like, aware and awake. But if they leave that bubble, you can't trust them again, because they're gonna go back into their fear and say, and then even they will resent you for having a moment of weakness. This is what's happening to me. I thought that it's great to open people up, and just have fun and just trust each other and just like, hey, it's all good. But then they go back to their own modes of being, whatever, and then they resent me for even making them real for a second or whatever. Sometimes it happens, but you learn. but you don't learn intellectually. You don't create another belief system and saying, "Oh, these are narcissists, these are empaths, and so now I'm going to navigate the world." And you see what I'm trying to say? No, you feel it. You've alchemized that thing that was kind of open and gullible, and you feel the energies now, and you choose to alchemize somebody else's energy. And actually, in the end, once you begin alchemizing, there is no end to it. It's you just the most that you can do is just to be in a state of consciousness of automatic alchemy for the rest of your life, which feels like peace and bliss, and this is why you don't complain about it. So I just wanted to put that out there. All narcissists have empathetic tendencies. All empaths have narcissistic tendencies, and it can swing really fast. It can swing really fast because if they don't learn the lesson that is about alchemy, empath can swing to narcissist very quickly, and the narcissist can swing to the empath very quickly. But they're both acting out of fear or pressure or something like that, right? This is why these are not, neither of them are correct modes of being. Okay? They're both bad. I should say, okay, I should clarify, they're not both bad. We start with that. But you become bad if you don't use this to evolve. That key thing that I'm describing to you, that every single event that you're going to have, the first thing, you will always have these, something painful is going to happen to you, something that depressing is going to happen to you. But you, as you deal with that, that thing that happened, that depressing or painful thing that happened will turn into something amazing that will happen to you if you alchemize that. And you will be protected from making the same thing again because it's not part of your reality anymore. So this is what I wanted to say, that get out of this never-ending conflict. Don't identify with neither of the sides. I know nobody like wants to identify with the narcissist side, but they actually are, and they all the empaths think that they are empaths, but they're actually narcissists. But this is what I'm trying to communicate here, is because it can be switching from one to another very quickly. I've seen this happen, seen this happen. It's just an ego strategy. You see what I'm trying to say? Empathy is an ego strategy. I'm gonna say this: empathy is an ego strategy. I know that in the Matrix, this is like popular to say that empathy is really a good thing. It is not a good thing. You don't need empathy. You need compassion, and it's different. All empathy is gullibility. The only empathy that you should have is not to another being outside of you, but that type of empathy you're supposed to open up only within whatever is there, that infinite peace and infinite bliss. That's the only empathy. This is the only structure of consciousness that you should have empathy for, ultimately. Okay? Because through that, if somebody comes into your life, it's going to be a reflection of that. And so you don't remove the empathy from whatever is inside of you and to move on to that person, then you go back in the same again. You become gullible again. You keep that empathy for that energy that is always there, and it's reflecting it outside of you. And so then it appears as people are empathetic to you, you're empathetic to people, but there is none of that egotistical empathy out of fear. This is like survival mechanism. It's like, oh, I have to take care of it because we got to survive as a group. It's still animalistic and ego-based thing. But what's really going on is you, through the empathy towards that 0 point, there's a certain compassion. And then what is the compassion? Compassion is this peace and appreciation of the essence of another being, no matter how they're awake, not awake, or whatever, but there's this appreciation of them. And if they want to be in that energy, then they will be in that energy, and then you'll be able to trust them because they're in that energy. While in that energy, you can trust them. If they leave that energy, you cannot trust them anymore. Okay? Yes, what I'm communicating, it is drastic, and it is, and the ego may say like, no, you have to have empathy because otherwise, like, yeah, you, this is how you used to survive as a group, but that's still a survival mechanism. And I'm telling you that you don't need an empathy. You become much better person when you are not in a position to be um, used by, right? Because now empathy is being tested, and it's actually the whole matrix is testing you and basically saying that if you have any kind of empathy, it's gonna get you. If you have any kind of empathy, it's gonna get you. You know, that empathy which is like, hey, I'm just gonna open up to somebody outside of me. And so if you don't have your own compassion, your own bubble, then you're open up to the matrix thing. I hope I'm making sense. It is everything to do with what I'm communicating, and that is direction of consciousness flow. One is like, you know, away from looking to pacify the suffering. Another one is going through this, and you're discovering on the other side of suffering there's contentment, and then from that contentment you move in the world. And if you will, there will be no such thing as empathy because you're triggerless. There's nothing there anymore. And so therefore you don't need it, because every empathist is like, well, I've been abused. There is no abuser without somebody being gullible. Okay? And it's just another ego mechanism to victimize yourself. It's a feminine coping mechanism, which doesn't mean that only women do. See what I'm trying to say? I'm not an empath. I'm not a narcissist. I am some sort of being experiencing this reality and realizing that it's about either alchemizing the distortion into something that is from something incoherent to something coherent. Either it's about that, or enjoying the coherence that is resonating between me and another being. That's it. That's what I know that is happening for a fact at the essence. I don't need no freaking labels. I don't need nothing. And nobody needs labels, you know. I don't, because I am whatever is needed to be in the moment. If I need to be a gardener, I'll be a gardener. You can call me gardener while I'm gardening, but when I stop being gardening, I'm not a gardener anymore. See what I'm trying to say? So I hope that you stop identifying with yourself with all these kind of things. And somebody was telling, also trying to identify with other things because there's protection mechanisms like, oh, I'm a witch, I'm a this, like, yeah. Is that something that your identity, or is this something that, or is this something that you ought to alchemize? It's just nobody, you know, like we're used to having these protection mechanisms and thinking that like, oh, if we don't have this, nothing's going to protect us. But if you just completely let everything of that sort go, what's going to appear is that there was never anything to protect in the first place. The thing that you were protecting was your suffering. And one way of doing it is to identify with something. something powerful. I'm God, or I'm this, or I'm that. I'm empath, and I came here and I'm just getting abused. For some reason, nobody says I'm a narcissist because that's what I mean. I suspect that all narcissists are calling themselves empaths. It's such a clusterfuck. But anyway, hopefully this message lands. And it's an invitation to escape from this dualistic experience of this reality. Because that's what we came here to do. And instead of arguing about this, just shut your little mouth and do some actual exploration of what's going on inside of you. Somebody did something wrong to you, right? So it hurts. So what you gonna do? You're gonna say something back to them? Are you gonna keep on doing this? They're gonna do something back to you. Okay, it hurts. It happened. Sit with it. See if that pain, what that pain really is. Okay. And another thing I have to say is that it's very difficult to live in a belief system when you have to put attention on these kind of things. You cannot be in a belief system to be able to be completely attentive of that energy that is happening inside you. And this is why it just eliminates all these belief systems, right? Because if I tell you, say, okay, find now most uncomfortable feeling within you, within you, and just be with it. Don't change it. Don't do anything. Just be completely attentive and aware of it. Just be that attention, and it's just gonna do most wonderful things with it. And you may start feeling things like a heat coming up, or some other sensations and whatever. But the only reason it's happening, it is doing what it has to be doing, is because you connected to that 0 point through your attention. Okay. And because it always wants your attention, you give it attention and it reflects the feeling back to you. If you don't give it attention, you give attention to something else. This is why, like in the Matrix, everything is trying to take your attention. You're supposed to be on the essence of you. Isn't it interesting? So let's end the squabble, okay? And yeah, and I said too much anyway. Less talky, more doey. Okay. And then hopefully we can talk about some cool stuff. What can we do with all that junk inside your junk? You know what I'm saying? This is because I got like this, want to talk about this, get it out there, and honestly just move on some cool shit. I want to make videos about how I'm making my food jungle. You see, that these types of videos, which is actually practical and useful, and fun too. Anyway, peace. See you next one.